This video is part 2 of the Gift of the Nile series, and in this video we're going to be talking about Egyptian society. Now, the Egyptian society was very structured. This type of structure we call a hierarchy, and this is where there's a system that ranks people one above the other, where one group of people has certain power over another group of people, or some groups have more privileges than others. This is the opposite of egalitarian. Nobody is equal. Very few people are equal in this society. So, let's take a look now at the hierarchy within the Egyptian society. So at the top of the pyramid would be the pharaoh. He's the monarch, he's the one person who is in charge of the entire system. And he's considered a god by the Egyptian people and according to the Egyptian faith. So, to obey him is to obey the gods, and he becomes an actual god upon his death, so it was good to keep him happy during the lifetime. Underneath the pharaoh is someone called the Vizier. This is the pharaoh's right-hand man. This is his chief advisor. Vizier, advisor. Good connection. And helps the pharaoh in running the kingdom. Beneath the Vizier are the nobles and the priests, so the rich families, the people with a lot of the wealth and power, as well as the priests, which typically come from noble families. So those that the gods have blessed and those whose job it is to be maintaining the temples, to be doing the ritual ceremonies, to be maintaining all of the spiritual elements of the society. That is the third tier. The fourth tier, these would be the scribes and the soldiers. Now the scribes are the ones whose job it is to write everything down. Now, this was not something that, oh, hey, you here. Here's a stylus and some papyrus and let's go. No, this was something you had to train for from the time you were a young kid, that by the time you reached an adult, you'd hopefully have mastered the art form well enough to be allowed to be a scribe, because any little wrong detail could change the whole meaning, could change a contract, could change the spiritual essence of a statement, and thus accuracy was extraordinarily important. Then you had your soldiers, which were obviously the people who went off and fought for you. The scribes and the soldiers were more or less on the same plane. Beneath them were the craftsmen. These were the artisans, the ones who did the drawings, did the paintings, did the sculpting, helped to build houses. This was a very important group of people near the bottom of the rungs of society. They didn't come from educated families, they didn't come from the well-off, but they were definitely above this final group. These were the farmers and the slaves. The farmers and the slaves were the ones who did the dirty work for the empire, for the Egyptians, whether it was working the cattle, working the farms, or as you see in the picture to the right, you see them working on building the pyramids, amongst other things, carrying the water, making the bricks. These were all jobs that were done by the slaves and by the farmers. So this pyramid helps to represent Egyptian society, from those that were at the bottom, which were the farmers and the slaves, all the way up through the craftsmen, scribes, soldiers, nobles, priests, the vizier, and finally at the top, the pharaoh, who once again was a living god in the eyes of his people.